Hey, good morning. It's March 12th, 2022 at 10:18 my time. And look, man, the time is of the essence and there's a lot going down. We just blasted through 500,000 views on hashtag Patrick Lovell on TikTok. We're approaching a million views on hashtag the con. If I could ask you to please go to YouTube and check out Patrick Lovell hashtags the con and like and subscribe. I really, really need to get a lot of voice and attention over at that platform because I don't know how long this is going to continue on TikTok. And I know that I'm ruffling a lot of major feathers of some major players that could at any time bring down the hammer on this, even though this platform is obviously operated out of another country. So, look, the bottom line is this, man. We are at an incredibly important juxtaposition. So, a lot of people have been coming to me around the world, literally asking who I am, what am I about, what do I know, all of these types of things. And of course, I say it like I always say it. The first thing you need to understand is who I am. I'm a muckraking journalist who basically put the largest criminal conspiracy and cover up in history that never ended, that is our system, on display on a platinum platter for the world to see. And the reason it had to go this way and why I'm talking to you directly is the entire system of media is basically owned by the system that we expose. You need to understand first that all of the answers are at www.thecon.tv. You can rent it on Apple TV. You can rent it on Amazon Prime and some others. I mean, it is to a degree a free market, and there are opportunities to slip through the cracks if you can generate enough information, which I'm doing to get people to understand what's going on. But the reason it's not on Netflix or HBO or some of the others is because those systems are basically controlled by what we're all controlled. We're all under the thumb of. So here's the story in a nutshell, okay? Everybody depends on finance. Doesn't matter if you have a big company, a small company, if you work at a box store, if you work at a grocery store, if you work at an airline, everybody has to be involved with finance to a degree. That's if you're going to get paid, okay? So the presumption is that we have a free market. We don't have a free market. What we have post 2008, and it's really been on overdrive since long before I'd say 2000, but it's been a long march towards this reality that we have. Wall Street is in complete control, and they don't operate based on the free market. Here's the analogy you need to think about. So if you gave a crack addict an unlimited supply of crack and also the combination to the safe, and then you made sure that the cops would never bust that crack addict for doing crack, would that crack addict stop? Of course not. So then, would you hitch your ride to that crack addict because you thought that was going to be a safe journey for the rest of your life because your life depended on that crack addict being fueled by crack? Would that be something you would do? Well, that's what you're doing. That's what we're all doing, okay? And so the other metaphor that you really need to understand is like, look, I grew up understanding, right and wrong, through religion initially, and then, through what my family influence was, and then comic books, and then pop culture and movies and everything else. And we've seen forever through Hollywood, kind of a continuation of what we saw, in religion. It's battle between good and evil, right? Ultimately, we all know who the good guy is and the bad guy is. But in our current reality, and it may have always been this way, but I think more so now than ever before, is imagine you're in the Wild West, right? You go through this bar, you get to the back of the bar, and you discover, and you're not surprised by this, a bunch of black hats counting stolen money. But what surprises you is they're counting money with the white hats. That's corruption. We live in a situation where the fourth act of what's happening right now with this Russian invasion of Ukraine appears to me above all else, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. It's a battle for complete control of what's going to happen next, in this confluence of global history, and it's about power. Who's going to have the complete control, right? And it seems to be a move on behalf of what we call the BRIC countries, which are Russia and China and Brazil. We don't talk much about Brazil in this current situation, but they're definitely a part of it. And then, of course, Saudi Arabia could go this direction, which if all of those guys go in the direction of what Putin's taking us, they might be playing to basically create a challenge to the United States and the West global hegemony predicated on our currency being the world's global currency, okay? And the reason we got the world's global currency is because we won World War I and World War II and a lot of other things that played into it, but it enables the United States to be able to do what it does. We're all corrupt, okay? I'm telling you right now, our financial system is so above the law, and they're crack addicts. They don't give a flying you-know-what about you, about dignity, about integrity of law. They don't care about the United States. What they care about is controlling a system to their benefit at your expense. what I learned a long time ago, and what really was the reason I got on this journey was I'm not expendable, and I thought that most of you weren't either. But what I discovered was the truth doesn't matter. What matters is noise. And I was going to give up a month ago. I literally was going to give up a month ago. And then people that I'm surrounded by, these women that I call my angels, and they literally are, they're encouraged me to move forward, and we did. And we experimented with this TikTok thing, and now we got 500,000 views and nearly 1 million views on the con, and it's just growing. People are starving for the truth. Now the question is, am I a guy that you're going to believe in? Because I'm in a hat and I usually look at, in this kitchen, this weird wallpaper and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, why would I trust that guy? Because you got to see the con to understand what I'm telling you. And the con is infinitely bigger than Watergate. It's infinitely bigger than Contragate. It's so beyond light years ahead of whatever Epstein reveals, not to mention, Weinstein and all of those sorts of scenarios that everybody will gobble up left and right. It's the system that they don't want us to know. Who is they? Everybody from the freaking New York Times, every major paper in this country that has basically been hijacked by billionaires or ultimately hedge funds in service to this system that they don't want you to know. Because again, going back to the beginning and the confluence of this whole thing, everybody depends on finance. Doesn't matter if you've got a box store, if you work at a grocery store, an airline, whatever else. Your salary, your income depends on this system. But the system isn't the free market anymore. The free market went long gone and evaporated after the 2008 financial crisis primarily. It probably happened way before that. We've been on this long march through neoliberalism that came from financialization over 4 decades. That's this Wall Street Ivy League meritocracy that is the deep state that now has, created this kickback from, white supremacy, and it's all freaking insanity. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and integrity depend on the integrity of the law. And that's what it is that I'm doing. So, to finalize this moment and this thrust forward and this everything that's been going on, and again, I'm Uma Thurman channeling this adrenaline into your heart to wake you up from a freaking heroin comatose. I think we're going to try to go live on Sunday and answer your questions, but please go to YouTube, like and subscribe to Patrick Lovell, #TruthBombsTheCon, and then please watch The Con, www.thecon.tv. There's a bunch of choices on Apple TV and all the major, technological players, blah, blah, blah. It's $2 an episode, and if you can't afford that, get it for free. Go to the library where you can get this new system called Hoopla, and you can watch it free with limited commercials and that sort of thing. But the bottom line is it's the damned freaking truth that nobody wants you to know. And I'm going to finish with this. Yesterday I had some new information drop into my lap, and this information is unfreaking believable. It's seriously the last piece of the puzzle that I knew existed, but there's a big difference between anecdotal inferences and supposition and, obviously speculation and all of those kinds of things and evidence. And the evidence that dropped into my lap is the final nail in the coffin of presenting the truth that they don't want you to know of the largest corruption and complicity and duplicity by our system. The betrayal is insane. You want to understand the betrayal? It's Braveheart, okay? You know the story of William Wallace and what happened with the Lords and everybody else. It's that and then some. It's history. It's how it works. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Bastiat said, when a group of men discover plunder, they create a legal system to authorize it and a moral code to glorify it. Look, one last freaking biblical reference, okay? And I'm going to mix Judaism and Christianity here. I'm trying to create this massive global civil rights movement to purge corruption because it is global. But I want to start in the United States above all else because there are tens of millions of victims in the United States of what this corruption has done. You just don't know it, and you can't fight what you see, and that's what I'm bringing you every single day. And I'm calling this movement #the resurrection, okay? The resurrection of liberty and justice for all is an alternative to corruption and white supremacy, neither of which any of us should stand for, considering what the frickin' United States is supposed to be, given the revolution against King George III, the frickin' Civil War to rid ourselves of slavery, the Civil Rights Movement, and of course D-Day and everything else against fascism and landing a man on the moon. It's the frickin' United States of America, god damn it. Don't you fucking get it? It's against corruption. Look, we might go live tomorrow night. I don't know. I hope so. And I hope to keep this thing going. But the final piece of the equation, and you need to be aware of this probably above all else, as we're watching the devastation and everything that occurs, and Ukraine because of the Russian invasion and all that humanistic suffering that happens during war. Look, what happened in the United States was a long burn, okay? We basically illegally set tens of millions of people up in a fraud scheme so huge that it devastated the global economy. And it required the United States Federal Reserve to pump trillions into the system to backstop the criminals that destroyed everybody, and they tripled down on their power. The move was beyond anything you've ever seen in a movie, okay? Except, of course, ours, the con. And then ultimately, the answers are what exactly is we're trying to create. There's a peaceful way to do it if we can get control of the power, which of course, to use another reference, and I've done so many of these, it's hard to keep up with my pop culture references, but if you get the White House and you get Congress, that's the Iron Throne. If you get the Iron Throne, you get the Iron Bank, which is the Federal Reserve, okay? Right now, there's this battle where they're trying, meaning on the East, in China and the BRIC countries and all of these, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, and Brazil, I think they're trying to basically destabilize the dollar, to be honest with you. And if they do, then we're completely destroyed. There's nothing we can do to bail ourselves out if that happens. The only reason we've ever been able to bail ourselves out in the first place was the entire world is trading in dollars. Once they stop doing that, game over for us. So corruption's going to kill us one way or the other, right? Have you ever heard the freaking, the parable about, the scorpion and the frog? The scorpion says to the frog, hey, listen, will you give me a lift across the river? And the frog says, no, you're going to sting me. And the scorpion says, why would I do that? We'll both drown. And the frog thinks about it and goes, oh, okay, he's right. So the good-natured frog gives the scorpion a ride, and halfway through it, he gets stung, and they're both going down. And the frog says, why'd you do it? And the scorpion says, because I'm a scorpion. They're pissing on your head, telling you it's rain. The greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he didn't exist. We are right at this moment. I have got the answers that led to tens of millions of people that got destroyed, betrayed, and corrupted by the entire system. The entire system. You can fill in the blanks if you watch the con and understand what we're doing and what that means, and there's more to come. And I believe that we are standing on the shores of the Red Sea, and we have a chance to open the Red Sea and get to liberty and justice for all, because this whole system is Pharaoh's, and you're going to have to choose what side you're on. Are you on the side of liberty and justice for all? Do you want to purge to surge, or do you want to be complicit in corruption? Those are the choices that we face. And the outcome of the world depends on the choices we make. Onwards and upwards.